Today we're here in Tampa, Florida to talk to an outfielder for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's a 5-time Major League All-Star and 2-time home run champion. He also happens to be a watch collector. His name is José Bautista, and today we're talking watches. So first of all, Jose, I want to thank you so much for agreeing to do this with us. It's an honor. So if you could, tell us a little bit of how you got into watches in the first place.
Well, really appreciate the opportunity, and I don't know, even since I was a kid, I always was one of the kids that wore a watch. I didn't have the fancy watches. I had what I had, and I went through a phase where I kind of went away from it, but this is always one of those things that I wanted to come back to. About 6 years ago, I had just come from Pittsburgh, playing with the Pirates for about 4.5 years, and got traded to Toronto. I was lucky enough to get a lot of trust and confidence from the manager that we had at the time, Cito Gaston, and making some adjustments in my swing, and kind of got to resurrect my career. I had become somewhat of a utility player, part-time player, and then I got the chance to start again. And when I did, I kind of exploded, or whatever you want to call it, and I had a pretty good season in 2010. That led to a multi-year contract, which is the biggest reason why financially I felt like it was the right time to go after my collection. And this is the first watch, it's got the most meaning from my collection because of those reasons.
What was it about the Safari and the offshore in particular that attracted you?
It's a pretty versatile watch, I think. You can wear it with jeans, with sneakers, and you can also wear it while you're dressing up a little bit. Maybe not in a black tie event or anything like that, but that's the one thing that attracted me the most, the versatility of the watch.
And AP seems to play a semi-large role in your collection. You're an AP fan.
I am, and I wish I had more. I'm trying to stay also within a certain price range, at least until my collection grows. I'm also waiting for my salary to go up a little bit too. I look at these not only as a collection, but also as partly an investment.
Sure.
That's why I've kind of narrowed down my criteria, and I only go after limited editions or special materials. The titaniums, the gold, and stuff like that.
So speaking of limited edition, what is this guy here?
This one is the Shaq. This is Shaquille O'Neal edition, and it's one of those things where I admire Shaq, and I think it's pretty unique to collect something out of one of the best athletes in a different sport than the one I play.
Yep, no, absolutely. I see that Panerai plays a big role in the collection. So Panerai, would you say, is that's kind of your brand of choice?
It is my favorite brand. After doing more research and looking at different things and looking at the history of their company and where they got started and issuing for the Italian armed forces back in the day. And I like the look. That's the most important things for me. Yes, I like the look. This is by far my favorite. This is the Bronzo, and I'm really excited to see how it's going to age and how it's going to patina over time.
Sure. So the Bronzo was the hottest watch, I would say, maybe 3 years ago when it came out. Did you have to fight to get this thing, or you called in a favor and then you said, hey, I'm who I am, I deserve one of these?
I basically tried to fight my way into one in the first run that they had. I was not lucky enough to get one out of the first run, but this is out of the second run. And I did try to use my status a little bit to muscle myself into one, and it worked.
So what is this Panerai here?
It's pretty clean, classic. It's white gold, nice and simple on the face. No date window, which is something that after collecting for some time, I've grown to not dislike, but not to love. So if I can avoid the date windows, I do.
And then, so we've got 4 Panerais here, and then I see a few other things, mostly in gold from other brands. So this is a Chopard Mille Miglia. How did you come by hearing about this?
Well, now I'm looking to pick and choose different things for my collection. So a lot of, military, aviator, sporty. I felt like this was a pretty unique piece on a limited edition run made out of gold by a great watchmaker.
Yeah. So as a professional athlete, do you get approached by watch dealers all the time? They know you can afford it, they know you might have an interest. Do they contact you and say, hey, I can get you a great deal on a Chopard or Panerai or anything like that, or is it just kind of happen organically?
It happens all the time, but unfortunately is the guys that try to take advantage of some of the guys not having a lot of knowledge on the watch market. So they'll grab one of the cheaper basic models of any brand, they'll bedazzle it with a bunch of diamond dust or whatever you want to call it, and then they try to jack up the price. So it's easy for me to say no to those guys.
Do you see your teammates wearing some of those kind of bejeweled custom watches? And if you do, what do you think of them?
I do. And that's their style, and they're not really into it for the taste of the watches and the love of the watches or the mechanics and the engineering that's all behind it and how difficult it is to put one together that's handmade, like all of these. They just like the look. I just don't. It's just a different taste. I would much rather have this type of approach and build some value into my watches.
Sure. And Bell & Ross is another favorite of yours?
It is. It's one of the ones that I like. I do have another set of 6 that's on a limited edition that I didn't bring today, but it's just the different instruments of one particular style of aircraft. But this is the one that I wear the most. This yellow gold is a limited edition, and it's got an alligator strap. It's pretty cool because even though it might look like it's a nighttime watch, it goes very well when you're really casual. And it's got a nice little weight to it and pretty unique style that Bell & Ross has. And this, I think, exemplifies their style.
So it seems like most of your watches are relatively kind of casual for kind of hanging around, things like that. And then we have the Calibre in gold from Cartier, and that is certainly a more formal watch. Did you decide to buy that watch for nighttime and for getting dressed up?
That's right. And I still have a few more editions that I'd like to make eventually for special occasions, but right now this is the only one I have for, the formal wear, night wear. It is brown and it's on rose gold. Again, just looking for, specialty materials.
And the watch you're wearing today is a Hublot, and Hublot obviously is a favorite of a lot of athletes. Would you say you see a lot of Hublots around?
It is, and I mean, they try to cater to specifically our crowd, and they use a lot of athletes in their marketing campaign. But they do make a really nice watch. Again, it's kind of like Bell & Ross. They have one style and they stick to it. This one's a diver watch. Again, looking for different things. I have, military, Italian, aviator, dress up, and race car. This is more of a diving watch, and it's one that I enjoy wearing a lot because it does look huge in your wrist, especially if you're wearing short sleeves, and it does draw the attention, and it's pretty clean black on black, which I didn't have at the time, and it's carbon fiber, which I didn't have at the time either.
So what's next, and then what's the dream watch?
There's a lot of things that I have on my wish list. I have a few IWCs that I like. I have a Frank Mueller that I have my eye on. There's an artwork, and I know that it's not one of the most classic brands, but it's pretty unique that I liked a lot. And the price is not where I want it to be right now, and I'm tracking to see how their brand holds its value over time. It could be a really exciting watch for me to have. It's black with lime green and...
Yeah, no, Urwerk, it's actually amazing to hear that you even know who Urwerk is, because I mean, they're really almost a bespoke watchmaker. In Geneva, they make maybe 100 watches per year, all rather expensive, and it is not certainly Panerai, AP, or Hublot. It's really much more independent, much more kind of off the radar. How did you hear about them in the first place, out of curiosity?
I've always looked around and done research on watches and watchmaking houses that cater to limited edition watches and limited production, and that are just high quality, handmade, and different.
And two brands that we don't see any of here, Rolex and Patek Philippe.
Yeah, and I think those are more of for my style and for what I know and think about the brands. A little bit for the older gentleman, I enjoy these sporty, casual looks so far, and I'm gonna try to enjoy them as much as I can. And then when I get into the more business casual and formal attire, where I'm going to a lot of events, I'll look into a Rolex or a Patek Philippe.
Sure. So you're known, I would say, as a home run hitter, and you've won for sluggers and things like that. The first big award that you won, did you celebrate with a watch?
I didn't, but there are still things that I want to accomplish. Going to the playoffs, winning the World Series. I look for things to reward myself. I think it's something that everybody should do. When you're doing something in your work line or in your life, that's great, that you probably should reward yourself. You should. It's a great incentive, and there's nobody better to incentivize yourself than you. So I think it's a pretty unique way, and if you have a hobby or something that you collect, I think that's a pretty easy way to do it.